Prime Orbit is a first-person puzzle platformer in which players take on the role of a cosmonaut whose ship has been totaled after a crash landing on a previously inhabited alien planet. With the help of Danielbot, a snarky ship AI, the player's goal is to solve puzzles by utilizing alien technology in an effort to locate a ship on which to escape the planet. Our team, Nocturnal Creations, is comprised of 5 game design students. The roles consisted of 1 dedicated programmer, 3 level designers, and an art director. In addition to the aforementioned roles, each member wore multiple hats through the development of the game. Overall, the process went smoothly and had little, if any, major issues.
The original pitch of our core mechanic involved rotating objects in order to solve puzzles. The player would left-click an object and press the movement keys to rotate the object around its 3 axes. Once we had that functionality, we quickly realized that only rotating platforms and other obstacles would become stale after a while. To combat this, we began experimenting with rotations that affected more than one object. Eventually we came up with the idea of cluster objects, a group of objects that could rotate around a central pivot object. This started to make the gameplay experience feel more puzzle-like. We thought it would be neat to have rotatable objects that could affect other objects in the environment, so we designed lasers that were simple 3D vectors using a line renderer. Power receivers were then designed to respond to a laser beam, which would in turn open a door when activated. We eventually began using these receivers to be interlinked with other puzzle components to add more depth and complexity to our puzzles. Mirrors were a natural component to add once lasers had been implemented. Once hit with a laser, mirrors would allow the beam to be reflected off its surface. This gave us a means of bouncing a laser beam around corners, thus adding to the complexity of our puzzles. Binary platforms were designed to be in one of 2 states, on or off. This allowed us to use multiple binary platforms to control the states of other progression blocking elements in the game, such as doors or moving walls. Holographic platforms work similarly to binaries in that they both had on and off states. However, these states would be altered with a laser. When activated, these platforms could act as a solid floor to stand on, or barriers the player could not pass through until deactivated.
We outlined an agenda for upcoming tasks in Trello in efforts to track what tasks needed to be done each week and what members were responsible. In terms of level design, prefabs were our building blocks. Each puzzle component was set up as a prefab and our levels were assembled using rooms that consisted of completed puzzles. One person was responsible for combining the various puzzle room prefabs into a complete leveled update for testing. This allowed the lead level designer control over the flow and pacing of the game. The team met for almost 8 hours every day via Google Hangouts, and each team member shared screens while working on various elements of the game. This allowed the team as a whole to ensure the consistency of the project's vision. Staying vocal helped us when making Perforce submissions. The team was informed when work was being conducted on a level, when revisions were made to the project, and what those revisions would affect. Each team member took development roles they were comfortable with and held responsibility for the tasks associated with those roles. The communication within the team not only allowed the creative freedom in their designated roles, but also allowed team members to bounce ideas off one another that would ultimately lead to a better outcome than originally conceived. Designing modular puzzle components with behavior rules assigned to each of them allowed for visualization of puzzles as systems. We made sure to design most of our components to work well with our core mechanic in attempts to alleviate the inflation of scope as development progressed.
Early on in the project, the idea of a nonlinear game was exciting. Originally, the player could choose which district they wanted to go to, and could attempt to solve any puzzle in whatever order they liked. This ended up being a larger task than anticipated, and we settled for a more linear approach for the final version of the game. UFPS took quite a bit of time from the development process. UFPS troubleshooting generally involved tasks such as integrating a custom character model, learning how the mini scripts worked, and later using a few of the learned methods to mend our own script behaviors to achieve the desired results. This whole process was necessary, but caused us to lose a large chunk of development time. Pro Builder caused problems early on too. Issues such as materials not saving between version control updates, meshes reinitializing their disabled renderers, and others were present. However, the pros of generating custom meshes in an editor quickly outweighed the cons. When using Perforce, we identified inconsistencies in data across each of our machines. We experienced issues such as art assets being displayed incorrectly and puzzle room prefabs appearing disjointed after being assembled by our lead level designer. We did manage to find workarounds to correct these issues, but we lost valuable development time in trying to identify the cause.
This project was an extremely valuable learning experience to us as students. Although we were working remotely online, We treated the development of Prime Orbit as any professional studio would. Throughout development, we were proactive and met our weekly submission deadlines a day early. We embraced challenges and solved problems together. We stayed true to the initial vision of the game and kept the scope in line with time constraints and the technical capabilities of the team, but we still feel that we managed to explore our core mechanic to the depth that it deserved. Prime Orbit is a game we feel will challenge the player in interesting and rewarding ways, and we hope you enjoy playing it as much as we did creating it. Thank you.